Trump, the President of the United States. Now, my friends, I've got the easiest job in American politics. Think about this. All I've got to do is remind people what life was like when Donald J. Trump was President of the United States. We had peace. We had prosperity. Take-home pay was rising the fastest that it had in 40 years. Inflation was at 1.5%, the lowest that it had been in a generation. Gas and groceries were affordable. And when Donald Trump was president, we had the most secure border in the history of this country. That's the Donald Trump record, and that's a record that's going to win in just 9 short days. Now, I'm going to maybe surprise a little bit of the folks in this arena because I'm going to be a little bipartisan here. I'm going to talk about Governor Tim Walz, and I got to be honest with you, I feel bad for him. No. We ought to spare a prayer for Governor Tim Walz because he's got the hardest job in American politics. He's got to convince the American... You all can say that. I probably shouldn't say that. But think about our friend Tim Walz has got to convince the American people that Kamala Harris is going to somehow fix the very problems she's been creating over the last 3.5 years. He's got to pretend that Kamala Harris didn't open up the southern border and let millions of illegal aliens in, even though we know she did. He's got to pretend that Kamala Harris didn't cast the deciding vote on trillions of dollars of new spending, which created the worst affordability crisis in 40 years in this country. And he's got to pretend that Kamala Harris actually has ideas in her head for how to govern the United States of America. Now, if you are the praying type, and I imagine a lot of us are, please say a prayer for Tim Walz because they're asking him to do the impossible. Kamala Harris acts like she's the candidate of change when she's been in office for 4 years. She says she can fix everything, but Kamala, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing that whole time? Now, my favorite Kamala Harris moment is that when somebody asks her for specifics on how she'll make life more affordable or groceries cheaper, she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. You say, Kamala Harris, how are you going to close down the southern border? Because for 4 years you've left it wide open. And she'll say, well, I made the hash browns when I worked at McDonald's, and I was pretty good at it. And anybody with a lick of common sense is saying, Kamala Harris, you didn't answer the question. You didn't actually tell the American people how you're going to fix what you broke. And I got to be honest with you, even on that McDonald's answer, I'm not sure that she ever worked at McDonald's. In fact, I think our president, Donald J. Trump, has probably worked at McDonald's for longer than Kamala Harris has. Now, I will say, I'm going to say one thing in Kamala Harris's defense. She does one thing very well. Look at this. You guys, you weren't expecting me to be so bipartisan, but I will say this for Kamala, that every time she does an interview, I think Donald Trump picks up about 100,000 votes.